the Trump audio. We played it in its entirety from CNN yesterday. CNN claims it, quote unquote, obtained this audio. And I think the manner by which this audio was obtained is a major story. And near as I can tell, if you listen to the audio, I listened to it a couple of times last night. If you listen to the audio, a couple of things stand out. It appears that Trump is mic'd up, or whatever mic is recording him, he is speaking closely and directly into it. That sounds like native audio to me. Aaron, you're the engineer here, but I mean that's pretty crisp, man.
It's like if you had your microphone kind of off to the side like this. It's close, but not like right in front of his face.
Everybody else seems even further off of
Correct.
mic. All right. Here's why I think that matters. Because I think this question matters greatly. There's one of three scenarios. One of four scenarios for this audio. Number one, it's completely false. It's rigged. It's as fake as Russian collusion. I mean, it is from CNN after all. I mean, whomever they're identifying as staff and staffer, writer, that could be an aardvark and an orangutan. I mean, this is a banana, okay? This is a media outlet that has negative integer credibility and worked hard to earn that lack of credibility. Fair? I mean, they have worked very hard. All right. They were also the most, I think, when I go back and look at my notes of the 2020 election, they were the most biased pollster. I think they were off by 9.5 points. Is that even a poll? I mean, what is that? I mean, it's by 9.5 points. What is that? Okay. So that is an option. Fair? Let's go through these one by one. That's an option. And you guys tell me if these options are fair. It is an option that this is completely and totally fabricated audio or edited in a certain way.
Yes.
To make it look as incriminating as possible, because the audio does depict Donald Trump incriminating himself of exactly what he is charged with, right? So that's possible. That's a possibility.
Yep.
All right. So if that's the case, that leads to a second step, which we'll talk about in a minute. All right. The second option here is that this audio was leaked by some media person. We know that Trump has in the past, particularly if your name is Maggie Haberman, spent a good deal of time communicating with the very fake news media that he publicly loathes in private to win them over. He brought, and this is biblical, man. This is King Hezekiah bringing the Babylonians in to see like all of his trophies and treasures of all of his conquests. And then the prophet comes to him and says, you know, those victories aren't yours, but the Lord. That's kind of the sad way Hezekiah's reign ends. He ends up, with his own arrogance, subjecting the people of Israel to a judgment that will come. And when he's confronted with this, he doesn't even repent. He's like, well, this happened when I'm alive. And the prophet is like, no. And he's like, not my problem. So Trump does have a prodigious ego. We know he's extremely sensitive to earning the approval of certain members of the fake corporate enemy of the people media. That's all documented and well known, right? Maybe one of those people was brought in. We don't hear them speaking. They essentially reversed Project Veritas Trump. And he is showing them the narrative of why Milley was the one that wanted to invade Iran and not him. He's the peacemaker. Milley's the warmonger. And Trump's sympathetic or sycophantic, depending on which term you want to use. I mean, one person's simpatico is another person's sycophant. Largely determines on what you think of the person being simpaticoed or sycophanted to, right? Okay. You hear his simpaticos or sycophants they're the laugh track, you know. They're given confirmation to Trump's narrative that he's trying to paint for whomever is silent in this audio that reverse Project Veritas him. That's a possibility, I think. Do you think that's a legitimate possibility? And that's the origin of the audio?
Yes.
Okay. Think that's legit possibility?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. All right. The third option is that there's a rat. And before you dismiss this, we are talking about the man that hired Scaramucci and Omarosa. Do I even have to ask if that is a possibility?
I think that's the least likely one so far.
You do? All
do.
right, further, explain. I'm fascinated. Go ahead.
Not that there's been bad people, but like we are way deep into the game at this point. Like what were you staying attached to? And also this has a... I see this both ways. There can people think they're hurting by this, possibly actually helping him.
Okay.
And so I don't know that, I also just don't think like the people that are with him now aren't they pure true believers or even cultists? Like it would seem odd to me that a rat is still involved at this level.
Like, well, you start thinking of senior members of the Trump administration that are still aligned with Trump, and the list is not very long. One of them is former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and he's not a native Trumper. He was in the Congress before Trump came to power. I'm not saying it's him, but could there be someone who do you think you still? If I further narrowed it down to someone who may themselves be concerned about the legal jeopardy that they face, and so they essentially agreed to wear a wire effectively in order to keep themselves out of jeopardy. If I further quantified it along those lines, would you still say you think that's the least likely option?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. Aaron, what about you?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Oh, okay. Well, then the fourth option is the one that everybody thinks is the truth. This was leaked by the DOJ. Given who the media source is, these are, you want to talk about sycophants and simpaticos, corporate media and the swamp / Democratic Party, but I repeat myself. That's a well-established relationship. Okay. So that's an obvious call. And that's what most of conservative political Twitter believes. And I can't say that there aren't ample reasons, given the leakocracy called the Mueller probe we just lived through, that would indicate that would not be the case. Okay. We will discuss is that a legit option?
It's legit,
of course,
but I also question the logic behind. He's already indicted. And the DOJ's
the thought.
I'm trying to be. I know we can't even adult anymore, but let's be very serious about the potentialities and the possibilities here. They actually mentioned the term coup twice. Mm-hmm. We have used it on our show multiple times, and I'm just speaking for ourselves, and I don't think you have either. I've used it for rhetorical flourish.
No.
I believe what's worse? A president keeping a classified document to prove his innocence, or a coup against a president of the United States in terms of a crime?
It's not even close.
It's not even close. Yeah. So that's why I don't want to be cavalier.
Let's go to what we were just talking about a minute ago with DeSantis going to the border. Why would we entrust that the people that won't authorize the appropriate use of force against an invasion and instead actually incentivize and encourage it to continue, suddenly now have a deep abiding concern about the most intimate and specific details of national security? I'm calling BS on that entire notion, that entire premise. Yes. They're not serious about, they're serious about lawfare against their political enemies. They're not serious about the rule of law at all, these people. Now does that answer your question?
The thought crossed my mind this morning. I know we're expecting another indictment as it pertains to January 6th here coming down this summer. Of the 3 indictments that would be, and maybe there's another one in Georgia, I don't know. Of the 3 indictments that are or might be, which 2 are the most serious?
January 6th.
January 6th.
By far.
And the Espionage Act. Mm-hmm. Those are the most, I guess.
Or they flat out charge him with insurrection even.
None of them are legitimate, but in terms of the monkey world in which we play in,
Correct.
The clown world in which we play in, those are the most legitimate. Even though they're not legitimate at all, but whatever. The thought crossed my mind that of those 3, the only one that could actually end up being followed through on, him being found guilty on, is the Manhattan one. It is entirely possible that, yes, they're evil people in the DOJ. They're evil people in the federal government. They're just not serious. At least not serious enough. Now, I know that flies in the face of everything we've been saying, but the thought crossed my mind. I mean, if this is your central piece of evidence and it's out there right now, for who, no matter who released it, I don't know how serious they actually are.
And I guess in terms of Trump digging his own grave, because there's always that, let me go to the other side. If the DOJ did in fact do it, I don't think it's particularly damning in terms of evidence, but in terms of not corroborating Trump's own story from just last week, where he's talking about boxes and documents and golf shirts and stuff. No, clearly this was not just a random document buried with your golf shirt. So, which, we're so used to Trump doing that. Mm-hmm. Yes, this is damning, but this is Trump's entire presence. He saying clumsy things. So, yeah.
So you guys think that the two most likely options are this comes from DOJ, or Trump brought in some corporate media hack that he was trying to impress and was convinced he could convince and persuade, and that person basically Project Vertias-ed him, and that's the origin of this. That's what you guys think is the most likely origin. One of those two scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm open to all manner of crazy though, including Trump doing it himself.
If so, that would be the first case of 4D chess we've actually seen. Why? Because it would be a hella move because of what I'm going to say next. What time is it? Eastern. 12:25 Eastern time. Assume courts are open for business there, and typically at by 9 a.m. local time. So this audio has been out for 16 hours. Came out about 8 o'clock last night, 7, 8 o'clock last night. Mm-hmm. So this audio has been out for about 16 hours. Courts in Miami-Dade County have been open for filings, for motions, probably since 9 a.m. at the latest, I would guess. Maybe as early as 8. I don't know. But we'll say 9 to be nice. So that's 2.5 hours ago. Where's the motion for mistrial? Because we have a judge here, and Judge Cannon in Miami, who has already made it very, very clear she does not like the legocracy of the Fed. She has already. That's why they tried to get rid of her. They tried to actually file a motion for a change of venue, to put a different judge on the case. The Feds did. She rejected them both because she's already let it be known in pretrial motions that she's not a fan of their legocracy. That dog ain't hunting in her jurisdiction. She doesn't like that. So your response to her denying your ability to change venue and already letting you know that she doesn't like the legocracy, you made a key point a minute ago. I don't even know that you even understand how key your point was. You said he's already indicted.
Yeah.
He's already indicted. Okay? He's already indicted. The judge has already said, I don't like leaks like this. The judge has already denied their ability or their motion for a change of venue. The Feds then came in, and we haven't talked about this yet. The Feds are now trying to delay this trial till December, mm-hmm. which would then put it well into next year with the election and everything else. Okay, that is beyond obvious. All right. What the timing of that is intended to do. Okay? She hasn't ruled on that yet, by the way. What do they gain by leaking this?
Just make... Who's they?
Feds. They think...
The Feds, yes.
What,
I agree. This is my point.
I know we're dealing with evil people, but
yes.
Just a week ago, we watched them coordinate one hell of a plan. All right? I mean, they cleared the deck with Hunter Biden. I mean, we were just sitting here. We did this show 1 week ago today. Yeah. I think it was, or last Wednesday maybe. Just marveling demonically, at just how swiftly they can move when they want to move. And so they have an indictment. They have a warning shot across their bow from the judge. What is to be gained by leaking this? What's to be gained politically? Who that does not like who that is on the fence about Donald Trump? After everything we've seen and heard from him and everybody that's against him since 2015 would listen to this CNN audio and say to themselves, you know, I mean, guys, he's got a minus 40 approval rating with independents. I mean, he's almost to the point that he can only go up at this point. I mean, what's the political damage here? To me, if they leaked it, all they did was walk right into a potential mistrial, a dismissal with prejudice. You can't ever bring this back again. You get this is now again, we're dealing with evil people. They ran a scam called Russian collusion for several years. But why do we know it's fake? It had to be stopped. That's the one thing Bill Barr did, is he stepped in and he stopped that. That's the only thing that he did. Okay? So were they going to stop themselves? This would be them like stopping themselves. Mm-hmm. They were just. So my question is, why aren't Trump's attorneys, haven't they already filed a motion to dismiss this at the time we're talking? This tape's been out for 16 hours. Courts have been open for 2 to 3 hours. Where's the motion to dismiss, declare mistrial, dismiss with prejudice? Maybe it's coming later today, man, but I mean, I would have done that like first thing in the morning.
Remember, there's incompetent, dumb people on all sides of this thing, so.
I think I'll just leave it there. I am watching very carefully to see what motions do or do not get filed in response to this story, because that'll tell you, I think, a lot about its true origins.